Welcome to Mimi Stories 256. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Like means support. Let's continue with our next chapter of The Price of Her Belonging. As they hugged goodbye, the weight of their departure settled in. Edith and Adoria returned to the waiting car, their hearts both heavy and light. The road ahead was uncertain, but they carried with them the love and kindness of the people they were leaving behind. Adoria shifted uncomfortably as she gathered the last of their things, hoping the relentless string of lectures from her mother had finally ceased. She had already endured countless warnings and advice from her mother and Aunt Jessica, and her patience was wearing thin. But as they stepped out of the small apartment and walked toward the waiting car, her mother's voice pierced the silence once again. "Adoria, listen to me, dear," Edith said, her tone urgent but weary. She stopped mid-step and turned to her daughter, her pale face etched with lines of worry. "That girl, Jenny, she's loved by her family in ways you can't even imagine. Did you notice how they agreed with everything she said? They give her whatever she wants without hesitation. That kind of power. It's not something to take lightly." Adoria sighed deeply, rolling her eyes before turning to face her mother. "Yes, Mom, I noticed. You've mentioned it about 5 times already," she muttered under her breath, her irritation bubbling to the surface. Edith ignored her daughter's tone and pressed on, her grip tightening on the small bag she was carrying. "When we reach their house, you must do everything she wants, Adoria. They're saying you're her playmate. But don't let it fool you. You're more than that. You're her little helper, her confidant. Make her happy, dear. If she's happy, our lives will be good too. Do whatever she likes and make sure she's pleased with you." Adoria's footsteps slowed, her mother's words beginning to weigh heavily on her. She turned toward Edith, her brows furrowing. "And if I don't?" she asked cautiously, her voice quieter now, tinged with defiance. Edith's expression grew darker, her lips tightening as she stopped walking entirely. "If you don't," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "then everything falls apart. Don't ever say no to her, Adoria. She's the reason I'm standing here today, and she's the reason you might have a future, a good life, but only if you handle it well." The weight of Edith's words settled heavily between them. Adoria shook her head, her frustration mounting. "I got it, Mom, I promise. I understand. Can we stop now? The men are waiting for us. It wouldn't look good to keep them standing around." Her tone was sharp, almost pleading. Without waiting for an answer, Adoria marched ahead, her steps brisk as she left Edith trailing behind. Edith watched her daughter's back as she walked away, the sting of her reaction mingling with the ache in her chest. She sighed deeply, clutching the strap of her bag as she followed slowly toward the car. She knew she was being too much, her words too heavy, her warnings too relentless, but how could she stop? How could she not worry? Edith had spent years fighting against the currents of life, struggling to give Adoria a chance, and now that chance was within reach. If Jenny was the key to their future, Edith would do everything in her power to prepare her daughter, even if it meant nagging her into exhaustion. As Edith climbed into the car beside Adoria, she offered a weak smile. But beneath her calm exterior, her heart churned with anxiety. She prayed silently and fervently that her daughter understood what was at stake. Adoria had grown up in a world of simplicity and struggle, where every day was a test of resilience. Their small, crumbling house stood at the edge of the village, its walls patched with whatever scraps her mother could find. The roof leaked when it rained, and the floor was little more than hardened dirt, but it was home. It was all she had ever known. Her days were filled with chores and small tasks to help her mother. At dawn, she would fetch water from the communal well, balancing the heavy bucket with practiced ease. Later, she would help her mother sort through the bottles and papers they had collected from the streets, items they would sell for a few coins. Adoria's small hands were often stained with dirt. Her knees scraped from crouching on the ground, but she never complained. She knew her mother worked even harder, and she wanted to ease her burden in any way she could. Sometimes, when the sun was high and the streets were quiet, Adoria would wander through the village, her sharp eyes scanning for discarded bottles or scraps of paper. She had learned to spot value in what others threw away, a skill born of necessity. On rare occasions, when they had gathered enough to sell, her mother would buy a small treat, a piece of fruit or a sweet bun, and they would share it, savoring every bite as though it were a feast. Education was a luxury they couldn't afford. Instead, Edith would teach Adoria at home whenever she had the time. They would sit together on the floor, using scraps of paper and a stub of a pencil to practice writing letters and numbers. Edith's voice was patient but firm as she guided her daughter, determined to give her the tools to dream beyond their circumstances. Adoria cherished those moments, even if they were fleeting. Despite the hardships, Adoria had always been curious about the world beyond her village. She would watch the expensive cars that occasionally passed through, their sleek bodies gleaming in the sunlight. Those people live in the city, her mother had told her once, her voice tinged with both awe and bitterness. To Adoria, the city seemed like another world, a place of endless possibilities and unreachable dreams. Now, as she sat in the back seat of the car, her fingers fidgeting nervously, those dreams didn't seem so far away. The leather seats beneath her felt foreign, the hum of the engine a constant reminder that she was leaving everything she had ever known. Her village, her neighbors, the dusty streets, where she had spent her childhood, all of it was fading into the distance. Adoria glanced at her mother, who sat stiffly beside her, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Edith's face was a mask of composure, but Adoria could see the fear in her eyes. This was a leap into the unknown for both of them, and the weight of it was almost suffocating. As the car sped toward their new life, Adoria's thoughts drifted back to the village. She thought of the mornings spent at the well, the afternoons scavenging for bottles, and the evenings learning by candlelight. She thought of Aunt Jessica's warm smile and the way the neighbors would sometimes share what little they had. It was a hard life, but it was hers, and now she was leaving it behind. For the first time, she wasn't just watching the expensive cars pass by. She was in one. And she was heading to the city, to a place she had only ever dreamed of. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. Adoria pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the window, watching the scenery blur past. "This is it," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. "This is my chance." Her mother's voice broke through her thoughts, soft but insistent. "Adoria, remember what I told you. Be good, be respectful. Do whatever Miss Jenny asks of you. If she's happy, we'll be happy too." Adoria nodded, though her heart felt heavy. She didn't know what awaited her in this new world. But she knew one thing for certain. She would do whatever it took to make her mother proud. Isn't she a sweet child? Stay tuned to find out. Just a favor to ask. Please like. A comment gives me more energy to continue posting and subscribe. Tell me whatever you think. It's an episode-based story, so tell me what you want to come next.